Didn't have time in sparring, but I had at least over 15 years of knowing him, amateur, professional. I've seen where he started. I've seen how he's gotten better over time, but I also just know what resides in him. He's a dog, he's a beast, and he's out to prove something too. So
it's like the weights are lifted off and now he could fight even more freely, you know? So I'm actually interested to see, bro. I can't wait for the fight. I'm definitely going to be backing Canelo, but you know, Crawford is a great fighter and he could surprise me. But right now, where I would put my money is Canelo Alvarez.
In my opinion, I mean, I can excuse it now. Now, if he has like, I don't know, if he's like a bodybuilder or something, which even then he might, because you got to think, him at 168 pounds is way different than him at 147. Shit, even 154.
The world of boxing is once again caught in the gravitational pull of a mega clash. Canelo Alvarez versus Terence "Bud" Crawford. But beyond the classic debates about skill, power, and legacy, there's a deeper, more controversial undertone. How are both fighters preparing for this? Is Canelo's physique a result of clean training, or is there more than meets the eye? And can Crawford, who has climbed weight classes with surgical precision, match or even surpass Canelo's physical dominance without assistance? These are the burning questions on every analyst's mind. And in this episode of Box Eye Hub, we dive deep into expert commentary that explores the physiological transformation, grit, and mental readiness of these two titans. Let's start breaking it down, section by section.
Didn't have time in sparring, but I had at least over 15 years of knowing him, amateur, professional. I've seen where he started. I've seen how he's gotten better over time, but I also just know what resides in him. He's a dog, he's a beast, and he's out to prove something too. So
Daniel Jacobs sets the stage with insight rooted in history. Having known Crawford for over 15 years, from amateur roots to professional greatness, Jacobs recognizes something many overlook. Crawford is a beast, not because of marketing, hype, or artificial enhancements, but because of what resides inside him. Jacobs has seen the grind, the evolution, and the relentless hunger that fuels Bud. His statement isn't just admiration, it's an endorsement of Crawford's authenticity and work ethic. When Jacobs calls Crawford a dog, he's referring to the fighter's internal fire, something drugs can't inject. That comment taps into a theme often raised in boxing circles. Natural-born talent sharpened by years of consistent discipline trumps manufactured strength. Jacobs isn't naive about the challenge ahead. He acknowledges Canelo's greatness, but leans toward Crawford for one simple reason. He knows what's inside the man. The beast in Crawford isn't a lab creation. It's the result of grueling gym wars, countless sparring sessions, and an unshakable resolve to make history. This isn't a conversation about who can lift more weights. It's about who has more will, more endurance, and more to prove. And in that department, Crawford seems to have the edge. For Jacobs to vouch for him at this level sends a strong message. Bud's transformation isn't suspicious, it's earned.
this fight, Canelo obviously is self-explanatory. There's really no need to go down the rabbit hole when it comes to him. But I do see this being as a 50-50 fight. But if I was a betting man, I would bet on Crawford. But also, too, you can't count Canelo out. I mean, would go in, I'm assuming, as the favorite, which is rightfully so.
When Daniel Jacobs continues, he doesn't downplay Canelo's status. He calls him self-explanatory, a term that encapsulates Canelo's legendary status, championship resume, and undeniable skill set. But what makes this quote so powerful is Jacobs' honesty in his prediction. Despite acknowledging the fight as a 50-50 toss-up, Jacobs says that if he were a betting man, he'd put his money on Crawford. That's not something a fighter says lightly. It's a sign of faith, not in hype, but in what he sees in Crawford's preparation and potential. Jacobs also reminds us that Canelo will rightfully enter as the favorite, and that carries weight in terms of public perception and betting lines. However, Jacobs' pick of Crawford suggests that behind the scenes, real fighters see something brewing, something potent in Bud's current form. There's no talk of superhuman strength or juiced-up gains, just a belief in Crawford's tactical mind, defensive mastery, and sheer adaptability. What's fascinating is how Jacobs walks the tightrope between respecting both men but still tilting toward the underdog. The implication? If Crawford wins, it won't be a fluke or a miracle. It'll be the culmination of strategy, timing, and inner grit. In a world where speculation often clouds performance, Jacobs' even-handed analysis adds credibility to the idea that Crawford is simply ready.
Well, I can see in increments because Canelo, which I've always said is an amazing legendary fighter, but he fights in spurts. So sometimes it takes for the opponent to actually initialize him giving the best.
Now Jacobs starts to peel back the layers of Canelo's performance. He talks about how Canelo fights in spurts, a subtle yet revealing observation. This comment isn't throwing shade, it's tactical analysis. Fighters who engage in bursts often do so either because they are conserving energy or because they're gassed gas tank isn't what it used to be. For Canelo, who's been in so many wars, that kind of pacing might be necessary. But it also opens the door for someone like Crawford, who thrives on rhythm, range, and control to dominate in the lulls. Jacobs calls Canelo an amazing legendary fighter, yet he hints that the Mexican superstar's output may be selectively efficient rather than consistent. If that's true, and if Crawford can capitalize on the quiet moments between Canelo's flurries, then we could be looking at a very different kind of fight, one where timing beats brute strength. And that's the heart of the matter in the drug versus natural debate. It's not always about how big you are, it's about how smart, how calculated, and how consistent you can be. Canelo may be powerful, but if he slows down or pauses, that's where Bud can exploit openings. Jacobs' comments shift the spotlight back onto the brain of the fight, not the brawn, and that may be Crawford's biggest advantage.
Combative and go back at it. So I think that's what Crawford may have to do. Push the pressure, make Canelo fight, or maybe just play it safe, win on points.
Jacobs concludes his assessment with strategy and its pure goal. He says Crawford must either push the pressure to make Canelo engage or play it safe and win on points. That's not just game planning. That's insight from someone who understands what it takes to beat a physical tank like Canelo. What stands out here is that Jacobs doesn't imply Crawford needs to match Canelo in muscle mass or physique. Instead, he needs to control tempo, create movement, and fight a mental war. The implication: you don't need drugs or bulking to win a war of minds and skills. Jacobs recognizes Crawford's versatility. He can brawl or he can dance. And if he uses either correctly, especially against an opponent known to fight in bursts, he has a real shot. The mention of playing it safe to win on points is strategic brilliance. If Crawford avoids damage and frustrates Canelo by limiting exchanges, the fight could become a psychological battle, not a physical one. The strategy here is about being slick, not swole. Jacobs' advice highlights what many fans miss. This fight is a chess match, not a weightlifting contest. Bud's edge lies not in how much he benches, but in how well he thinks.
I don't see it happening, but he could definitely prove me wrong. But I just think, bro, like, I mean, I've trained with Canelo, I've been around him. Bro can really push back heavyweight. So I don't know how he's, like, because this is the first time Canelo's actually bigger than somebody in a long time.
Enter Ryan Garcia, who brings a completely different lens. First-hand experience with Canelo in training. His perspective reinforces what we already know. Canelo is a physical powerhouse. Garcia says Canelo can push back heavyweights, and that's no small feat. But the underlying tone is interesting. He's not saying Canelo is unbeatable. He even admits Crawford could prove me wrong. Still, his admiration for Canelo's sheer force suggests that physicality might be one of the few clear advantages Canelo has in this fight. What's subtly embedded in Garcia's statement, however, is something many don't consider: the difference in body dynamics when someone is bigger than usual. This time, Canelo is the naturally bigger man, and Garcia seems to think that'll make a difference. But that doesn't mean it's unnatural or drug-induced. It's just reality. That said, he doesn't count Bud out, and that lingering uncertainty, despite the size advantage, proves that strength alone doesn't win fights. Garcia respects the skill set Crawford brings to the table, enough to admit he could be surprised. That comment speaks volumes because it comes from a fighter who's been in Canelo's camp. If anyone would know about his physical dominance, it's Garcia. Yet even with all that knowledge, he leaves the door open for Crawford's excellence.
When you get a guy who's been 147 pounds, actually lower than that, 135 up, I think, now all the way up to this weight, you got to think that they sweated down to almost nothing.
Eddie Chambers, a veteran of the heavyweight division, offers insight into Crawford's transformation, acknowledging a vital and often overlooked reality in boxing. Weight transitions are no joke. He points out that Crawford isn't just jumping up a division. He's climbing multiple tiers from his humble beginnings at 135 pounds all the way to 168 pounds. Chambers frames this shift as more than physical. It's strategic. A fighter who's spent his career sweating down to make weight finally finds himself on the opposite end of the scale. Instead of starving to fit into a division, he's eating, lifting, and fueling his body like never before. That shift alone could radically change Crawford's performance capacity. Crawford is now at a stage where he's no longer depriving his body, but instead optimizing it. He's not cutting dangerously close to the bone, but rather walking into the ring closer to his natural weight. Chambers hints at a version of Crawford who's not just skilled, but also finally whole. It's a key advantage, especially against someone like Canelo, who thrives on strength and explosiveness. And if you're wondering whether this new Crawford will be bulkier, Chambers is confident. Yes, the man will be muscled up, and perhaps more dangerous than ever before.
Now they have the ability to lift comfortably, to eat comfortably. He doesn't have to like drop weight, a certain amount of weight at a certain amount of time. Not really, anyway. And he can literally almost fight at his walk around. So he's gonna be a little more muscled up than ever before.
Continuing his analysis, Chambers elaborates on why this is the best version of Terence Crawford we've seen. His points? Simple. Nutrition, comfort, and consistency. There's no rush to make weight, no calorie deprivation, no late-night cardio sessions in sweatsuits. This time, Crawford has the luxury to train like a powerhouse, lift weights, build strength, and most importantly, recover. Chambers argues that this will help Crawford stay at peak physical and mental form. Crawford doesn't just walk into the ring in better shape. He walks in focused, calm, and composed. His body isn't rebelling against months of starvation. Instead, it's responding to balance and discipline. Chambers paints a picture of a fighter in the prime of his physicality and mindset. He makes it clear, Crawford won't just show up, he'll show out. Still, Chambers tempers the excitement with realism. Despite all this, beating Canelo might still be a stretch. Why? Because muscle or no muscle, he's still facing a larger, more powerful natural super middleweight in Canelo Alvarez.
In my opinion, I mean, I can excuse it. Now, now if he has like, I don't know, if you like a bodybuilder or something, which even then he might. Because you got to think, him at 168 pounds is way different than him at 147. Shit, even 154.
Eddie Chambers drives his point deeper. He admits that the transformation might even look extreme. Is Crawford turning into a bodybuilder at 168 pounds? Maybe. But even if he does, Chambers emphasizes that it's entirely understandable. The body that functioned at 147 is not the same body that performs at 168. This is a whole new monster. Chambers is basically saying, don't judge Crawford by his past frame. This is a reinvented version. At 147, Crawford was lean and tactical. At 168, he's going to be more physically assertive. But here lies a gamble. Will the added muscle mass slow Crawford down? Will it affect his timing and speed, his most potent tools? Or will it bring enough strength to neutralize Canelo's physical dominance? Chambers implies it's a delicate balance. Too much bulk can hurt mobility, but if done right, it could make Crawford a far more dangerous opponent. It's a fascinating twist in the tale. Crawford isn't just fighting Canelo, he's fighting his own transformation.
It's like the weights are lifted off and now he could fight even more freely, you know? So I'm actually interested to see, bro. I can't wait for the fight. I'm definitely going to be backing Canelo, but, you know, Crawford is a great fighter and he could surprise me. But right now where I would put my money is Canelo Alvarez.
Switching perspectives, Ryan Garcia enters the conversation. Known for his explosive hand speed and confident takes, Ryan is backing Canelo, and not without reason. Garcia sees the weight transition working in Canelo's favor. He points out how Canelo seems more relaxed, the pressure lifted off his shoulders. With the added weight, Garcia believes Canelo fights more freely, with greater ease and control. That's a scary proposition for any opponent. Still, Garcia isn't dismissing Crawford. He calls him a great fighter, and even admits that Crawford could surprise him. That's the power of Crawford's reputation. Even fighters betting against him can't fully count him out. Garcia's commentary reflects a broader sentiment in the boxing world. People favor Canelo due to his size and pedigree, but everyone is keeping an eye on Crawford because they know he's capable of shocking the world. Garcia's final take, his money is on Canelo, but his respect lies with Crawford.
So, I mean, I just think he's really, his diet's the best it's ever been, probably. He's probably stronger than he's ever been. He's focused better, more than he's ever been as in his entire career, because this is the biggest fight he can have. So I think he's going to look his best. I think he's going to do his best. I think it's going to be the best performance he can put on. I just don't know if he's going to be able to keep Canelo off.
Back to Chambers, who wraps his analysis with a powerful statement. He says Crawford is probably in the best shape of his life, physically, mentally, and spiritually. His diet is on point. His focus is unshakable. This, Chambers says, is the biggest fight of Crawford's career, and he's preparing like it. He's expected to bring his absolute best to the table. Not the Crawford who dominated at 147, not the one who outclassed Errol Spence, but a whole new beast who's trained for power, endurance, and grit. But even with all that, Chambers doesn't offer a prediction. Instead, he poses a possibility. What if Crawford shows up better than ever and still can't beat Canelo? That's the risk here. Crawford might put on the best performance of his career and still fall short. Not because he wasn't good enough, but because he was outsized by a generational juggernaut. That's the danger of climbing the weight ladder. No matter how prepared you are, there's always the chance that your ceiling stops at someone else's foundation. This isn't just another blockbuster fight. It's a collision of worlds, a clash of legacies, and a test of physical limits. Terence Crawford has done everything right, bulked up strategically, optimized his training, and tuned his mind for war. Yet the question remains, will it be enough to dethrone a man who's ruled the super middleweight division with sheer brute force and elite technique? Canelo Alvarez is not just a champion. He's a gatekeeper to boxing greatness. And Crawford, in seeking to defeat him, isn't just chasing victory. He's chasing immortality. As the boxing world holds its breath, one thing is clear. This won't be a fight. It'll be a reckoning. Who are you backing in this monumental showdown? Canelo the King or Crawford the Challenger? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Boxy Hub for more in-depth analysis, expert opinions, opinions, and the most electrifying boxing content on YouTube. Stay tuned. This is just getting started.